And welcome to D&D News. D&D News you can use. Today we're going to be talking about Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures. Now, this is the new sort of unpainted miniature set that is officially being released, being made by Wizkids, and officially released by Wizards of the Coast. And there's a couple things I want to talk about here. There's only a few shots of the actual miniatures. And I don't really understand why Wizkids does their business like this. Because, and it seems to be kind of the new way everybody does miniature stuff, when you get the shots, they're going to be, the majority of them are just going to be digital renders. Where there's not that much wrong with that, I guess. But like literally, these miniatures are going to be released in March, and there hasn't been that many like actual shots of the miniatures. And so real quick, as far as I know, the only official shots that Wizards has released is this little picture on their webpage of some painted ones where they look really good. And they also had some shots in the Dragon Plus magazine. Those are digital renders on the top, but when you actually scroll down to the article, paint by numbers, you can see they have pictures of the actual mini. So we're gonna get back to that in a second. So, am I gonna say, hey, you should go out there and pre-order these? And even though I think these obviously are a really good idea. If you buy them at the prices at stores where you have stuff like you have credit built up or you have points built up, the outlets online right now, even though these are marked as $3.99, and most of the miniatures, you're going to get like 2 to 3 miniatures per pack. And like for the NPC and PC character stuff, you're usually going to get 2 miniatures. And for the PC ones, one is supposed to sort of represent a newer character, and then the other one's supposed to represent a character that's higher level. So that's really interesting and cool. So even though these are supposedly retailed at $4, you're probably going to be able to get these for $3.50 or less. So that's about $175 per miniature. And that's really good. However, and this is why the digital render thing kind of makes me a little bit cheesed off. Because we've only seen 2 official pictures. Well, we've only seen like 3 models, basically. Well, 4 models. So the reason that makes me a little bit suspect in it, and the reason why I'm not going to suggest anybody actually pre-orders these, is because it's Wizkids. Now, back in 2004, Wizkids released the Reign of Winter thing. And there was a couple models where there was some serious problems with that. The biggest one was this one. Now, this was the promotional image that they showed. And unfortunately, that's not the sort of miniature that a lot of people got. So, in fact, there was a lot of stuff where it's like, hey, I just went online and talked to Plastic Crypt. And there were people complaining about that particular miniature. And they were saying, hey, this miniature looks nothing like this. What gives? And a lot of people were actually like talking down to that person and saying, hey, whatever, it's not going to be perfect, blah, 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 blah. Let me remind you, these aren't the general cheap-ass people like me. People like me buy stuff where they buy boosters and individual ones, and booster bricks and stuff end up costing a lot less. These are people that spend literally $300 plus on cases for these. And so, I mean, that's not an insignificant amount of money, so you're going to want decent quality stuff. So then when you go back on Plastic Crypt and people are saying, hey, people are just, it's just a matter of detail, blah, 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 blah. It's not so bad. So that's why I went on there. Because everybody was talking about this miniature, nobody had actually picture headpiece. So brace yourself. This is the picture of the miniature that I got from this set. That people were saying, oh, don't worry, it's not a big deal. Just let that sink in for a second. That's the kind of quality people were saying, oh, we're paying these huge amounts of money for these premium miniatures, and this is the kind of miniature we get, and that's not a big deal. That's not acceptable. It really isn't. So what happened is people took that stuff and they actually linked my picture from my PhotoBucket account, and they actually linked it on the official Pazio thing, and we're like, hey, look, this is an actual picture of the miniature that's coming out of here. What the heck's going on? Now, what Pazio did is they ended up doing the quality assurance that Wizkids didn't do in the first place. So the people at Pazio actually busted their asses. They went to the back stock room. They checked all the miniatures. They found out like 50% of them were just completely like mine and like not usable. And let me just show you that picture again. So this is a miniature that they sold at. This is a Reign of Winter miniature. Again, this is what it's supposed to look like, and this is the miniature that I got. So let me just remind you, I can repaint miniatures. However, this thing literally had a melted face. There's absolutely no sort of paint job that can fix this. This miniature is useless. So, but Pazio busted their ass. They checked the miniatures. They came up with a solution. So what they did is they put in 2 free miniatures to replace the bad miniature in another set. And with their program, if you have a miniature that's damaged or beat up, you can actually go and get that miniature replaced as part of I believe that's the WizKids things. But Pazio went above and beyond. Now, eventually, I did get a brick, and I did get the miniature that was supposed to be the replacement for that. So that ended up okay. But yeah, that again. So we go back to look at this, and it's just like, well, this monk miniature looks really awesome in the digital render. It looks really good. And the little painted digital render looks good too. But then you go back to the Wizards site, and you look at this, and you kind of think to yourself, wait a minute. The digital render had... And then you look at the actual miniature they took a picture of, and it's all borked up. And I really have to ask, why is Wizards, like, for the example... Okay, there's either 2 things that happened here. Either these miniatures were, low quality, so you can't find one that looks like the digital render. Or the person who did this didn't make an effort to try to bend the bow staff back in place, detach the arms again, put them on, try hot water, something. With a 28 millimeter miniature like this, there's really not that much you can do if you have something that's very badly out of wonk like this. But you could try to fix it. Now, I don't know if they were saying, okay, this is one that's right out of the box and everything, but if I got this right out of the box, I wouldn't paint it like this. I would make the attempt to get that bow staff looking better. And it seems like this person just didn't do that. So I don't know if they didn't know that the bow staff wasn't supposed to look like this. So this is actually probably 2 things. The material that these are made of are probably similar to the bones material, where during packing and whatnot, a lot of stuff can get bent out of shape and all floppy like that. Now, you can fix that with the bones, and I'm assuming you can fix that with this material as well, by simply doing the boiling water for a long time, sort of poke it back to shape, and then after it kind of regains its natural shape, put it into ice water. Now, the other thing that probably happened too is that all these miniatures are pre-assembled. Now, they did that because they wanted all the miniatures to be pre-primed. So to prime all these miniatures in advance, they have to be pre-assembled in advance. And unfortunately, when you're talking about Chinese manufacturer, pre-assembly always is just terrible. The Bones miniatures, it was like, the pre-assembly on some of those was just, it was obviously it was done on an assembly line, and it didn't really seem like half the ones that I got, I had to tear apart and reassemble anyways. So, would I be able to do that with this one? Just looking at it from the few pictures that are on this website, I would assume yes. I would probably be able to use boiling and reassemble the thing so it would look a little bit more like an actual bow staff and not this floppy stick thing. But whoever Wizards contracted, or maybe it was somebody in-house, I don't know. Do they have an author on here? That'd be interesting. They don't have an author on here. They do, in fact, link to subreddits, and there's a really nice painting series that they link to, where some of the links are actually busted. But yeah, no, they're smart enough to link to other places where you can find painting stuff, but they don't really have an author on here. I'm not sure. It might be in the, I don't know. Just glancing, whatever. I don't know who did this. But it's a little bit weird that, again, this is like supposed to be... This is one of the very few pictures of the actual miniatures that is out there on the internet. And the bow staff is all screwed up. So I don't know. So then when you look at these, you look at the actual pictures of the physical miniatures here, you're like, okay, so wait, these look really good. You can tell that this staff here and this bits here and stuff, these look fine. So does that mean these are different than the miniatures we're going to get? Or somebody actually just took the time to make sure that these miniatures look good? Or are these just samples that China Wizkids is sending over to showcase the miniatures, but these aren't going to be what you actually get in the package? That's the thing. So again, I don't understand from a business standpoint why the whole miniatures thing now is like they're just showing off. And this is for everybody. This is not just Wizkids. This is for Reaper. It's for everybody that's making miniatures. Apparently now, instead of showcasing the actual miniatures that you'll be selling, they just show off these digital renders. And it's just like, the actual miniature isn't going to look exactly like this. And if it's a situation where it's like this big, and these are a little bit, this is the other thing too, this is a little bit deceptive. Because when they paint the digital renders, they kind of make some of these parts look like they're translucent. Now, again, I have no idea if these miniatures are going to be partially translucent. I suspect they are not going to be partially translucent. Otherwise, the miniatures that we saw up here would take advantage of that. So these are probably going to be just plastic. But when you look at the actual painting of some of the digital renders, which is like, they look like they're translucent. And it's just like, from what we've seen, there's no translucent miniatures. So again, having physical images of these miniatures would be great. And again, Wizards in the past has done this where like fans will go to expos where Wizards will have the miniatures set out and the fans will like take pictures of those. And like the pictures that the fans take of the miniatures, this happened with Tyranny of the Dragons. For a long time, like the only pictures that we had of the actual miniatures were pictures that the fans took at the expo. So if Wizards has physical miniatures and they're the same miniatures from the production line that are going to be sold in March, why aren't they showing us those pictures? Why are they showing these miniatures where it's like you don't know if this is going to be translucent or not? Again, this is a situation where you're looking at this and it's just like, okay, is this going to be just a gray piece of plastic or is this going to be a fully translucent miniature? With the digital renders, like, I don't know. I mean, obviously, like, not many of us can paint. There's people that are good enough to paint a miniature that so it looks like it's translucent. But, like, frankly, there's not that many people that are going to be buying a budget line of miniatures, which, again, these are not the collectible miniatures that Gale Force 9 is selling that are going to cost, like, however much they cost. But these are miniatures that people that are just getting into painting are going to get. So it's just a little weird that they're doing it like this. And again, with the Blink Dog, like that looks like it would be translucent, but it's probably not. It's probably just going to be a lump of plastic you'll have to paint. So I don't know. These have such promise. And again, I don't want to harp on this and make it seem like I don't want people who are interested in buying this to buy it. Go ahead and buy it. However, my advice would be, if you're on the fence, wait until some fans actually upload some pictures of the actual miniatures. And it's weird because you go on Facebook and stuff, and there's these random people that have like production-proof miniatures or something like that, and they're showing that off at the Facebook. It's like, okay, so who are these people that have these miniatures? Like, I didn't recognize these people as being Wizards of the Coast employees. So why do some people have miniatures already? And they're showing them off on Facebook on the official D&D like threads and stuff. But like Wizards of the Coast and WizKids decided, no, the vast majority of the promotion we're going to do is with these digital renders. Which again, if you actually look at the physical miniatures that they've shown, there's obviously a difference. And again, this whole it's little things with the Wizards of the Coast. Like, for example, they still have not fixed the pre-generated characters. The druid character and whatnot still has like math that doesn't make any sense, and that stinks. So it seems like I'm nitpicking here, but it's not really nitpicking because, you know, you can't really think of any other product that people pay this much money for. This is essentially a toy. And I really don't really know. Thinking back, it's just like there's not that many products out there where it's like, well, you're going to pre-order this and it's going to be released in less than a month, but there's no physical pictures out there of the product. It's so weird that they do business like this, that the entire miniature people do business like this. It's like we're going to have all the production done in China, and we're going to hype this up and we're going to sell a bunch before we even see what the product is China gives us. And even then, we might get something like this, where this is the product that we get, but nobody at WizKids and nobody at Pazio said anything until I took this picture and posted it on the internet. And then after they saw that picture, then they decided to do quality assurance about a full month after the product had come out and was on shelves. And the weirder part about that is that the people who actually buy this stuff, they were saying online on Plastic Crypt, there was people saying, oh, it's not a big deal. It's a matter of preference. Like a product like this, that's perfectly fine. It's okay to charge somebody a premium price. We're talking about somebody paid like, you know, $4 for that. Or probably higher. I don't want to do the math right now, but like, you know, supposedly that was a rare miniature. So, yeah. So boy, it's just like, this set, I think, has a huge amount of potential. And I really want to say, you know, I want to support it. But it's just so weird that, like, digital renders are going to be, like, the primary thing that people are trying to promote miniatures with. And I just don't understand that. Digital render stuff is how they actually sculpt the miniatures now. So what you're seeing when you see the digital render is probably, like, an edited version of like what the artist actually sculpts 3D on a computer. But there's no guarantee that that's what it's going to actually look like after the production run. I am very optimistic about this product line. After seeing the little miniatures here, clearly they look good. But then I see the one here and it's all kind of wonky with the bow staff. I don't know. I don't know. So again, if you're super looking forward to this line, you've already pre-ordered, I say fine. Chances are that you're going to be perfectly happy with this. I mean, again, at about $1.75 per miniature, these, I think, are going to be a really good priced line. And I think you're going to be really happy with it. The days of getting metal miniatures like the Chainmail Miniatures, which I love so much, which was the last official Wizards of the Coast unpainted line that they released. I want to remind everybody about that. That was like way back. The Chainmail miniature game was the last official unpainted miniature line. And I'm not counting the Gale Force stuff because that, I don't consider that a line. That's like collectible stuff that's just it's priced too much to even, consider it. And it's not really a full line of miniatures because you're only getting like certain like big miniatures. And it's I would consider that like what it says. It's a collector's edition thing. It's not like a regular release. So with these, I hope that WizKids comes out with some really nice stuff that we can use. The selection of miniatures is great. We have little goblins, spiders, which look great. Some interesting looking undead, which are different than what we've seen before. I think the Blink Dog is great. I think the Ghost is looking good. The vampire stuff is awesome looking. It looks like there's a ton of detail on there. And I am going to be very, very interested to see what we actually get when we open up these at the end of the day. And I really hope that we're all going to be satisfied with everything. But, again, the specter of Reign of Winter continues. So I actually kept my goofy-looking one and the replacement, which is far less goofy-looking. So this one I just made a point to paint. and just paint as quickly as I could. And obviously it's superior to the goopy-faced one here. I wish Wizards of the Coast would start a new trend in miniatures where they try to show off some of the actual physical miniatures before the release date. And I'm not talking about proofs that Chinese sends over, because again, a lot of those proofs, sometimes there's major differences between the proofs that they get versus the actual miniatures that get released. But if there's any way, I don't understand the business. I don't understand how Wizkids works. I don't understand how Chinese manufacturing works. But it would be really great if before the actual release, Wizards of the Coast and Wizkids could somehow figure out a way to show us more pictures of the exact production run that we're going to get in the mail. That would be awesome. So again, thank you. Again, this ended up being me more rambling than giving you guys news. And again, as soon as I get my miniatures, I'm going to be showing them off in this channel. So if you've seen any other pictures of these miniatures that you want to share, please share those in the comments. As always, have a great day, and thank you for watching the video.